Time to say good morning and welcome back to the man who's now back in Blighty, where he belongs. Although he's off again our soon on his travels to arrange the forthcoming nuptials. I haven't spoken out of turn there when I say good morning to our mate Van Connor. Van, welcome back, matey. Great to have you on the programme once again. And you've got 3 interesting films, and I've chosen one completely in your honour, as you'll find out in a moment or two. But where would you like to start, Mr. C?
I would like to start on the LA freeway in the early 1990s with one of the best action movies ever made, good sir. And hello, by the way, it's good to be back.
Good to talk to you again. Absolutely live this time from Blighty, of course. So you're talking about the Jan de Bont classic, I gather, from 1994.
Yes, Speed is on tonight, 10:45 on ITV. Everyone knows Speed. It is one of the most classic action movies of the last sort of 40 years. I mean, for my money, top 20 action movies of all time, easy. I could probably argue to put it in the top 10. Keanu Reeves makes his second foray in his career into the action genre, following a Point Break 3 years earlier, with this Jan de Bont directed action thriller also starring Jeff Daniels, Sandra Bullock, and Dennis Hopper as the manic terrorist bomber who basically hotwires a bus. And I'm going to phrase it how Homer Simpson did, because it's the most iconic way.
Go on.
It's that once its speed reaches 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed, and if its speed drops below 50, it'll blow up. So its speed has to stay above 50. I think it's called the bus that couldn't slow down. That's how Homer Simpson phrased it.
That is an absolutely brilliant film, and I was very lucky in that I did the junket for it when it came out back in 1996, and I interviewed Dennis Hopper. I mean, Keanu Reeves fine. Sandra Bullock was absolutely charming. So her next film I did on was While You Were Sleeping, which isn't a bad, light rom-com she did.
You chatty so-and-so.
But Dennis Hopper was fantastic because he'd come from filming Waterworld with a shaved head, and he really only wanted to talk about Waterworld. What a mad... Of course, the show I was doing for had no interest in anything but 2.5 minutes of him talking about... So we had all this great stuff about him. So it was absolutely... We waited 4 weeks waiting for so-and-so to happen, and the weather... And he was just... I didn't explain anywhere in the interview piece why he was bald-headed like Kojak. There's one for the teenagers. A treasured memory. So the film is on ITV tonight, 10:45pm at Speed. What clip have you got for us, Van?
I've got a clip for you. This is the bomber telling our LAPD detective, our young buzz-cutted Keanu, exactly what he's in store for with his day. So this is the explanation of just what he's done to this bus. Like I say, 10:45 ITV tonight. One of the all-time action classics. It's Speed.
The bus that couldn't stop. Here we go.
Why didn't you just come after me?
No, this is about me. This is about my money. This is about money due me, which I will collect. $3.7 million. It's my nest egg, Jack. At my age, you gotta think ahead.
When I find you...
Pop quiz, hotshot. There's a bomb on a bus. Once the bus goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed. If it drops below 50, it blows up. What do you do? What do you do?
Pub quiz. Well, I think what you don't do is you don't put a sweet in your mouth when you're about to do this. Excuse me while I remove it. I expectorate my Haribo. I can only apologise for that. Sorry about that, Van. Now, I've gone for a film that I hadn't really seen until I saw the listings for it, and I looked at it, and a quote of yours popped out about the next offering I've got for you, which is a film called Ultraviolet. It's on the Horror Channel, starring Mila Jovovich, however you pronounce her surname, and I think it dates from 2006 or thereabouts. Is that right? Van, can you hear me? Oh dear, he seems to have fallen off the perch. Well, we'll try and get Van back, actually, because I'll move on to my second recommendation, because I need Van's comments on Ultraviolet. Unless can we get it back? Is he still there? Okay, well, I've chosen Ultraviolet. It's on tonight, this afternoon, this evening, on the Horror Channel, 9 o'clock, from 2006. Great special effects, I thought. Based on some kind of weird and wonderful other computer game or comic book. I never really fathomed that out. The plot is a little difficult to follow. I don't think it quite deserved the round condemnation that Van Connor gave it. Here's the trailer. Van Connor's back after this.
Let's start at the beginning. Everything changed when a government lab discovered a virus that caused genetic mutation. They used it to create faster and stronger soldiers. The problem was, we became a threat.
I want them hunted down and killed.
Get on your knees!
We've managed to eradicate almost all of them.
Those of us that survived extinction started fighting back.
So, Ultraviolet. I saw it before we did this. I'd never seen it before. And it was, I thought, mediocre. You had a different view of Ultraviolet, did you not? What did you make of it?
I will merrily rank, sorry for the cut-off there, by the way, but I will merrily rank Ultraviolet as probably one of the worst movies ever made.
And that was printed in your name, was it not? So that's also as part of your record. Wow, that's fierce. What is it you so disliked about it? Because I thought it's bits of the Fifth Element have crept in, bits of other kind of derivative computer game, video game type setups, but what made it so horrible for you?
I think, first of all, it's a ghastly looking film. I mean, awful 2006 era slapped together on the cheap CGI. So much so, if you actually go and watch the Corridor Crew documentary, one of the Corridor Crew documentaries on YouTube, they actually explain to you that the reason it looks so weird is because none of the visual effects have been put at the right angle. So everything looks all the time like an M.C. Escher painting. Yeah. But in just subtle enough a way that your brain knows something is wrong, but your eyes can't quite distinguish it. So the whole thing looks ghastly. You've got a terrible performance from Mila Jovovich. The script is hackneyed to hell. The studio interference very visibly all over the shop. Now, very famously, there was a novelization of the film. And if you remember, once upon a time, we used to thrive on novelizations for movies because they used to be written based on the first draft of the script. So in order to get them out in time for the movie. So if you read the book for Ultraviolet, which I never have, apparently the book is a much more fleshed out and coherent story, whereas the film is the version that you get after Sony have hacked it to the bone in the screen. Now, Kurt Wimmer, who only had this as his third directorial movie, his second was, of course, the absolutely spectacular Equilibrium with Christian Bale, I think 4 years earlier. Kurt Wimmer has been quite blunt about how hackneyed and how cut up and how trimmed to the bone Sony did make this. It does show all the way through, and it comes out during a period in which Sony was prioritising their direct-to-DVD output and their international sales as opposed to their domestic and English language made stuff. So it does kind of show when you look at a film like Ultraviolet. Having said that, though, there were a billion video game movies out at the time, most of which also coincidentally starred Mila Jovovich, which are about as bad as this. So it's not the worst movie that she did around that time, but it's still somehow one of the worst. And
for that reason alone, folks, I'd urge you to at least record it and whiz through it, because I always think those kind of it could have been a great movie if I hadn't heard about the novelisation. And certainly Equilibrium is a fantastic film, which is why part of the reason I thought, I'll recommend it and have a look at it. And then I found your review. Anyway, I'm offering it up as a kind of sacrifice to you this morning. Yeah, watch it, whiz through it. It's called, I've seen it already, Ultraviolet. It's starring Mila Jovovich on the Horror Channel till like 9 o'clock. Here's the trailer.
Let me start at the beginning. Everything changed when a government lab discovered a virus that caused genetic mutation. They used it to create faster and stronger soldiers.
So good we played it twice there. Let's go for your second recommendation, and this is for Saturday. What have you got for tomorrow for us, Van?
So, you know me, I love a good Denis Villeneuve movie. I was such an easy mark for the recent Dune adaptation. Love that got nominated for Oscars. Always hilarious. But here's his thriller from 2013, based on a screenplay by Aaron Guzikowski. This stars Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Paul Dano, I think David Desmalchin is in there as well, Maria Bello, Terrence Howard, Melissa Leo, Viola Davis. Hell of a cast, as you would just expect of a Denis Villeneuve movie. You would think this is based on a European thriller, feels like it should be based on a Danish thriller, but somehow is an original creation. Stars Hugh Jackman as the father of a young girl who's one of two young girls abducted in a small town in Pennsylvania. He's adamant, when the police arrest a suspect and then let that suspect go, he is adamant that they have let the right man go. And despite the fact that he can't seem to come up with any evidence that would confirm this, he's adamant that he has the right man and sets out for what he would refer to as more natural justice. It's based on a screenplay about a man who locks another man, basically builds another man into a well for running over his daughter. And it's then expanded into this much more grand, dark, and gritty thing. Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal are terrific in this, but the MVPs are David Desmalchin and Paul Dano. And Paul Dano, of course, is riding high at the moment for being a pretty good and very different take on the Riddler in the Batman verse. But this is a much more creepy, much more sinister movie. Got nominated for the Oscar for Best Cinematography for Roger Deakins back in, I think this was 2013, 2014. But great movie, terrific performances. Jackman and Gyllenhaal, both superb in this. As you'll hear in this clip of the pair of them, it's on Great Movies tomorrow night at 9 p.m. If you've never seen it, do put this on. You won't guess where it goes, and it will keep you absolutely on the edge of your seats. Like I say, Great Movies, Saturday night, 9 p.m. It's Prisoners. Here's a clip of Jackman and Gyllenhaal.
There's a bag of lye in your basement. It's half empty. Your wife thinks you've been helping us, and we both know that's not true.
I used the lye to bury our dog last year. And helping the cops sounds better than I've been driving aimlessly in my truck because I don't know what the else to do.
Is that what we were doing last Saturday night?
Probably. Am I a suspect?
No, I'm only asking. I'm only asking because you assaulted a man who's now missing.
I heard about that. What happened? I thought you had him under surveillance.
I'm going to assume that you're asking me because you have no idea.
Yeah, well, I didn't think it was something I could get away with.
Oh, that's had a great... Again, I've not seen that one, so I'm looking forward to that. Fantastic stuff. Now, I've gone for a bit of a favourite in the Ross household. I saw it on the big screen. It didn't do huge business. It was directed by Tom Hanks, and it's basically a quite frothy... there's not a dark side to this one at all. Quite a frothy take on those bands in America that tried to follow or equal the success of the Beatles and the Stones and did their own kind of groupie poppy thing. Never troubled the charts elsewhere. And it concerns a band known as the Wonders, but spelled O-N-E-D-R-S, and there's a horribly arrogant but very talented front man who's a songwriter, and basically the drummer man is meant to be a kind of youngish version of Tom Hanks, from a small town in America. His dad and mum are in an electrical store, and they kind of, partly because he changes one of their songs from a ballad into an up-tempo number, they become a one-hit wonder smash. And they changed their name to a proper spelling because once they're introduced as the Oneders, no, they're the Wonders, and Tom Hanks is their manager figure who's basically trying to keep an eye out for them, knows they're going to be ripped off, and knows it's going to last about, 15 seconds of fame and all that stuff. But I thought it was a very sweet film, a very good recreation of the time, and it's got a vague element of, not quite as dark as the end of American Graffiti, but it's around the time when Americans are being drafted into the Vietnam War, so it's the start of the swinging 60s, so-called, also start with all the trouble and controversy of the 60s, and I don't even remember seeing this get particularly good or bad reviews. It just kind of was released and flopped onto the screen, but I really like this film. Do you like this movie?
I do. I have a real soft spot for this. If memory serves, I think this is the first film Tom Hanks ever actually directed.
Yeah.
I think this is his directorial debut because he turned down the Zefram Cochrane role in Star Trek First Contact to go and do this.
Wow.
Famously. So Tom Hanks could have been the godfather of the Star Trek universe, but chose to direct this instead and play the manager. Incidentally, he is playing Colonel Tom Parker this year in Elvis.
Absolutely.
So he's going to kind of do this again. I think Tom Everett Scott makes quite a likeable lead, as you say, sort of a parable of a very Tom Hanks-like figure. The song, most importantly, is what I think is the MVP, because the song is absolutely great. I still have the song on my Spotify liked list to this day. It's been 25 years, it's been nearly 30 years.
It's a cracking film. In fact, I've got it a bit elbow before Apex because it's the Sunday night recommendation. When I play the trailer in there, it's well worth catching, folks. It's on Sunday afternoon, I do apologise, on great exclamation mark movies, and it's a lovely, warm, fun film. Liv Tyler's in it as well, of course, Tom Hanks. And it's got a great guy playing the rip-off owner based on a real-life character of the American record label. You know they're not going to see any money, they're going to have a great time, and it's all going to be over, they'll go back to the real world. It's called That Thing You Do, Sunday afternoon, 3:45. Here's the trailer.
In unison, and we're off the stage before the applause dies out, right? You have your pick?
Right here.
All right. Keep these with you. Put them on. There you go. You guys look great in red. Have I told you that yet?
Let's give a big welcome to the latest addition to the Playtime Galaxy of the Stars.
Go!
Doing that thing they do. It's the Wonders!
You doing that thing you do, breaking my heart into a million.
It's great, isn't it? It's a lovely song. Van Connor's absolutely right. To be everyone's playlist, fantastic stuff. And in fact, Rob Grimm was just been on and said, Paul, Van Connor just hung up on you for recommending Ultraviolet. And he's put two smiley face. It was a technical grammar, he tells me, or so he tells me now. My actual Saturday, that's Sunday afternoon, 3:45. My actual Saturday recommendation is another favourite of mine, written by Alan Bennett, released in 1984, I think. It's on Talking Pictures TV, which is on Freeview. Give it a go. Colour film set in 1947, and it's basically about illegally raising a pig to have a feast in honour of the wedding of the then Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip, as he became, the Duke of Edinburgh. It may not sound scintillating, it's very funny, rude at times, heartwarming. It perfectly captures a kind of sense, I think, of Englishness in particular. Starts with the Pathé newsreel, when they're watching, you know, we're not like Johnny Foreigner, we're not cheating the rationing system. Everybody's at it one way or another. And to have this celebration as something like a feast, they're raising a pig outside the attention of a man whose job it is to go round and bust butchers for dealing illegally in meat. It's a great cast. Bill Patterson plays that. Jim Carter's in it. The late Peter Postlethwaite. Liz Smith plays Maggie Smith's mother, and she's terrified of being put in a home. I don't know if you remember this, so she's constantly remembered to 11/11's 132. If you know that, they won't put you away in a home. Very Alan Bennett. Michael Palin's brilliant. I think it's his best film. Michael Palin's great. Is this chiropodist who's excluded from the kind of Rotarians and bigwigs who run this small town. Maggie Smith and Denham Elliott are fantastic together, and it's got one of my favourite lines of all time in the film, when finally Michael Palin's character, a bit of a worm, has turned, and says, right, Gilbert, I think sexual intercourse is in order. And that's just perfect, spot-on film. Made by Handmade Films. It's on Saturday afternoon, I'll get it right in the end. It's on at, in fact, it's on, let me double check. Yeah, it's 5 to 11. It's later on Saturday night, I think I'm only saying, on Talking Pictures TV. I'm overexcited this morning. Catch up on it, folks, if you've not seen it already. I mean, again, this did good business, but I'm surprised it's on Talking Pictures TV, which effectively means it's sort of out of copyright somehow.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm glad you recommended this, though, because I remembered the film, but I could not remember for the life of me what it was called. So when you picked this, I was looking it up.
Oh, my
God.
Well,
it's that one.
They're having an invitation-only soiree to mark the royal wedding. And, of course, at the beginning, Michael Palin's character, the chiropodist, is not invited. Things turn out very differently when he hears about the pig that's being raised illegally. He gets involved. It's a complicated, silly story, but beautifully done. And here's the trailer.
Grim faces of Downing Street this week, when, as the fuel crisis continues, the government announces a further cut in the bacon ration. Your weekly bacon ration used to look like this. Now it's going to look like this. Another blow to the long-suffering British housewife. This is one person's rations for a week. Hardly the fat of the land, but at least in England it's fair shares for all. In France, with no food in the shops, the black market flourishes. This pretty little mademoiselle seems to be going for a bike ride. But why the attaché case? Careful now, mustn't spoil those nylons. Plenty of bacon here for somebody. Ah, this is where the attaché case comes in. Mademoiselle gets her bacon on the black market. That's right. Cover it up. We don't want to know. It's a rotten business.
I love that. It's almost like one of those Trouble in Water films, isn't it? You know, women know your place, or don't vote Labour, you'll get lice and stuff. And there's a wonderful scene as well. Liz Smith's the mother living with them, you know, old. Everybody's hungry because it was still rationing going on in 47. And they're keeping the pig in the kitchen, and it's obviously making piggy smells. And somebody turns up and, what's that smell? They go, it's Mother, I'm afraid. Having one of her turns. Fantastic Alan Bennett script. And where do you want to end with this to save this slot for us, Van Con? We've got things mixed up and all over the place. What have you got for us to end with? There's a recommendation for Sunday.
I think I'm going to take us to Iraq to end the week. You know, the sunny vacation spot with the first movie to ever win an Oscar for a female director. Because to this day, 15 years later, somehow there's still only been two. The Hurt Locker from 2008. Would you believe this is going to be 15 years old next year as well?
And I must say, without me being rude about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it shows, in some ways, the kind of almost deadening effect that can have on a career. He's great as Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner, but in this, I thought we've got a new Bogart, a new John Garfield, a new James Cagney, because he's got such an authentic face. He's such a great actor. He's made some good films like that, Awakenings or whatever, but this is the way his career should have gone, because he's fantastic in this film.
Very much so. And if you knew Jeremy Renner's career before The Hurt Locker, because The Hurt Locker is the big breakout role, obviously the Oscar baby. Before The Hurt Locker, this is the kind of thing he made. Yeah. Like, he made movies like this for a good decade. Like, he was the villain in SWAT. Yeah. Like, I think it was 5-6 years before this. He did action thrillers and gritty dramas. That was his bread and butter. And he still does them. He does, like, Wind River and things like that still. And I think he's excellent. I think this is a very good jump-out movie for him. Listen, based on the actual embedded real-life experience, the embedded access that journalist Mark Bowl had during the Iraq War. So he based this on actual experiences. Director Catherine Bigelow and Bowl would re-team a few years later for Detroit as well, which is a very similar kind of vibe.
Oh, yeah, that's a very dark and intense film. Oh, yeah. Terrifying film.
Totally, but very similar gritty aesthetic to this. That tension, that handheld shaky cam, every bead of sweat will be felt kind of aesthetic. This follows an Iraq War EOD unit and an explosive ordnance disposal unit led by Renner, and shows basically how they are targeted by insurgents in Iraq and how they start to unravel as they are targeted. Renner is absolutely terrific in this. You also get Anthony Mackie in there as well. All-star cast, and also includes Ray Feinstein. And
I do love, I thought he was great in this. I think David Morse is fantastic in this. As a kind of gung-ho American military guy.
Absolutely. David Morse. I think Guy Pearce as well gets a brief time to shine in there. I think he's given a bit of star power early. He's giving it some star power early on. But I think the real star, more than anything, Bigelow as the director. This is one hell of a tension-driven movie. I've got a clip for you just to establish the camaraderie between our three would-be bomb techs.
Here we go.
This box is full of stuff that almost killed me.
And what about this one? Where's this one from, Will?
It's my wedding ring. Like I said, stuff that almost killed me. You know, I just think it's really interesting, you know, to hold something in your hand that could have killed anyone else.
Damn that, it's all from Radio Shack.
It's interesting.
I think it's interesting, too.
Well, I think you hit me harder than I hit you, therefore I owe you a punch. Now get your ass up. Come on.
You know what? He's right. Let's go. Come on.
10 o'clock Sunday night, BBC Two. Very quickly, Van, how can we hear you and Rebecca Perfect in podcast form with Off Screen?
You can hear us from 6 a.m. on podcast platforms, as you can every Friday on Off Screen with your 7-day guide to everything movies, everything on TV, in cinemas, on Freeview, on DVD, streaming, the works. So Off Screen on podcast platforms.
Marvellous stuff, and he's back with us next Friday. Of course, he's back in Blighty. It's Van Conner, our main man when it comes to Freeview film recommendations. Up next, the weather for the weekend.